So I'm Jeff Barkehanai. I'm here to talk to you about what we've done with the AVEVA MES and its integration with Connect. And if you're not aware, one of the main selling points that I see for using Connect with MES is its ability to design for multi-site customers. A lot of our MES customers do have multiple sites, and each of those sites often have their own MES database residing there. So they're publishing and collecting their data into some central databases, perhaps multiple sites into a single database, but they still have maybe regional centers as well, capturing the various data. And so the idea here is now you start publishing that information into Connect, into our cloud offering, and that gives you a single point of access for all of the data that's coming from Connect, or coming from the MES databases. And then within that, you have access to your employees for the visualization, the analytics, the various capabilities provided to you on the Connect platform. Right? If necessary, you can share that with your partners, with your vendors, with your customers, whoever else may need to have access to your data. You can segregate which components of that data you want published to them and make that available to them. And then as necessary, if you add on an additional site or you start implementing and rolling out across multiple more sites and have additional MES databases, you can then publish that into the same infrastructure. And you don't need to do much more on the Connect side, maybe build some more graphics representing those assets, but otherwise, your existing users and existing customers or vendors that you're publishing the data to will have access to your data. All right, so some examples of just publishing or the MES asset hierarchy out there. We've got may have multiple sites that you have existing. Within Connect, when you publish those sites, you'll see an asset hierarchy, and so you get the whole structure. MES publishes its own asset hierarchy and structure there for you. So an example here, we got a couple different bottling plants there, as well as standard capabilities in the MES to support different time zones. We do segregate the hierarchy, so even if you have different or same asset names in multiple locations, multiple sites, we'll publish those under the different hierarchies so that then you can still access them. They still have unique IDs underneath on the publication side. In terms of the history of what we've been doing with MES, we started back in 2024, so it has been almost 2 years exactly when we first published the first capabilities of our Connect integration. So we had a curation service and a data publishing service. Those got released in 2024, and those initial set was all towards capturing utilization and downtime data. And so that's what you see on the screen there is a number of the different types of charts and that we had available for the performance and capturing that data. With subsequent releases throughout 2025, we added additional operational capabilities, so your inventory, your consumptions, your lots, sublots, that type of information was published. As well as then at the end of last year was our final, or what I kind of saw, a consolidated release there of our cloud integration piece that included the quality capabilities as well as some additional production line, downtime events, stuff that we've captured there. So with that, we now have all of the MES operations, performance, quality, all the context being published into the cloud. Then from a visualization perspective, the first set I showed you was a number of ones for a single asset. Here shows some examples of ones for multiple assets. So to do that cross-site analysis, where you have different locations and you want to roll up or see the data. So on the left-hand side, there's one for the individual utilization events for 4 different assets. Or you could have some KPI calculations you want to see for, say, the last day or the last month, have those aggregated and shown across multiple different sites. So we provide a number of visualization elements for that as well. Going on in the future, as we're publishing now, all that data is being published into Connect. We're starting to build out additional widgets. So this is an example one here of being able to analyze over some time period your total utilization events. So you start with your total time period on the left. We subtract out then any of your idle by the different reasoning groups that you may have down for your idle time, and that'll get you your total production time that you were available to produce. You can then have subtracted off of that any of your slow production time losses. So if you're not producing, you're producing, but you're not producing at your maximum speed, so you get some of your performance losses. and then your individual downtime. So you get a bunch of different downtime ones, and then finally we'll subtract off any quality losses. So if you have bad production counts, we'll convert that into a timepiece and show you then by the final bar you see the final um, productive time based on your standard rates. Beyond that, the next one that we've got released, this is available in preview. So if you do have a desire for this one and you're currently having event information published into Connect and you want access to this one, just send me a note or send us a note through support and we can have this enabled for you. But this one's now our production progress widget. This one's showing you what you've produced so far, what's your target produced is for that work order on this piece of equipment, how far along you are, where we would estimate you to be if you continue to produce at the desired rate. So much like we have on the on-prem products and some of our model-driven content, we've got the same now available up in Connect. We also provide various generic event visualization widgets, one of them being a grid widget. So the grid can be used against various MES events, so whether it's utilization events, production events, and give you different summaries and aggregations. If you're using some of our basic types like the productions or the downtime events, you can select various columns then to group by that, and we'll provide some summary data at the top of the chart there. I know it's probably a little difficult to see on these monitors, but that's what some of the capabilities that we have there within those. Also within these grids, you select a row, or from the utilization timeline event, you can select a row and launch into the grid too to see the raw data from some of our other widgets as well. And then a little sneak preview here of what we're working on in the future here. What's coming next is dealing with the consumption and production data to build out your genealogy, traceability from the raw materials all the way to the finished goods. So for an overview, I kind of like that there on the top right. That's what we call the our network diagram. So with the network diagram on the left-hand side in blue, those are your raw materials that were consumed for a work order, and each of the operating steps in between. So you may have a process. This one looks like it has at least 7 or 8 different processing steps. So those are all your intermediate raw materials that were produced and then consumed by the next operation all the way through. And then you get your finished goods out there on the green dots on the far right would be your finished goods. You can also see that through sand key diagrams in the bottom right or a sunburst there on the left. Those are additional ways of viewing this. The sand key is a similar one, again, on the left-hand side showing what was consumed all the way through what was produced. And you can click on a number of those. And I've got a little video here. Hopefully this will play. So with the genealogy widget that we're doing, that I was showing you some of the screenshots of it, but it starts with a grid. So you start with a grid here of showing you your consumption and production events. Within that production and consumption events, you select specific a row in there, which would select either a work order or a production lot. And then depending on the types, you have various settings there that you can set on the right-hand side for the default values for whether you want this displayed by lot number, by work order, the type of chart you want it to default to. And then when you select one of those rows, it'll go up and generate the chart. So we're starting here with the sand key type. As you can see, as they scroll across and select different ones, you can scroll to the right or scroll to the left to jump through the different production lots or consumption lots that were being used. If you highlight one of the rows here, you get additional details. And so with these, you can scroll all the way to the very finished goods, one by one. This is the way this one's set up because this is doing it by lot. So it's going lot number by lot number, working its way across, scrolling through all the different lots that were produced. And as you saw that earlier diagram, there's quite a number of different steps on this one so that we can jump all the way over to the finished goods. And then you'll eventually get the final lot there where you see the final finished goods inventory that was being produced from this lot number. Let's jump ahead a little bit here. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time getting it to jump ahead on me. I was going to show you the final one, but with that, I do have additional sessions later today, giving you more details into the various widgets that we have available on cloud integration with MES. So that's at 11 o'clock today. So if you're interested in come by then, otherwise I'll be happy to talk to you here on the stage afterwards.
And I'd like to open for questions as well. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand.
Thank you. The visualization you showed, it's distinct from Connect visualization, or is it also in the same visualization application?
They're all part of the same, tenant, your cloud visualization. So as you get into Connect and you get into the visualization elements, there's a specific grouping for the MES asset visualizations. So all these downtime ones and some of the genealogy one that's coming are all grouped under an MES grouping. And then there's a second grouping for generic event visualizations. So there's actually two groupings for the event types. They're in the same list that you'll also see for all these streaming type data widgets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So talking about a connect to connect for multi-site MES, so how do we can compare the data from multi-site in terms of probably the performance perspective?
Yes, so from the available widgets that we have, I've got a few of them that are multi-asset, so that you can pick assets from different sites and be able to see them on a single grid. Otherwise, you can have separate widgets, one widget for one site, another widget for another one right below it, and stack them up that way. Alternatively, Connect also supports some Power BI type reporting, so all the data is exposed through our event structure so that you can query the data and build your own Power BI reports if you're looking for something custom. Thank you, guys.